I got to Matthew chapter 14, verse 31, and it says, "And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" My name is Joel Jensen, and I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, serving in the Arkansas Bentonville mission. When I was about 14 years old, I kind of went spiritually inactive. I was still going to church, but I kind of abandoned my testimony. And I can actually remember the very last time that I felt the Spirit in my youth. By the time that I turned 18, I had just stopped going to church. I'd made some friends with some people who they were really good people, and I was hanging out with them, and we got into a spiritual discussion. This was the first spiritual discussion I'd had probably since heaven knows when. But during that discussion, I realized that the world around me was collapsing, and if I didn't ground myself in something, then I would collapse with it. And so I kind of started searching for something that I could ground my feet in, and all I was really finding around myself was just almost like you could say quicksand. And then after spending more time than I should have with the spiritual quicksand, I decided this isn't what I'm looking for. I'm going to start going to church, and I'm going to start preparing for a mission. And then the day after that I announced to my parents that I wanted to serve a mission, I got into an accident. I fell off a roof and I broke both my legs and my wrist and my back. And I was in a wheelchair for about 4 months. So I had a lot of time to kind of just do whatever, right? I found some pretty interesting teachings on a YouTube channel from a Hindu man. Who he was very well versed of the Hindu religion, and I started watching some of his lectures, and I was really captivated by it. So I watched the first video of his. I watched it and I really liked it, and I was like, this is some good stuff. I think I'm going to watch more. And then I watched another one, and it was as I was watching this video that I had felt the Spirit for the first time ever since I was about 14 years old. And I started crying the second that I realized that I was feeling the Spirit. But then with this came a conflict, because I had previously decided that I wanted to serve a mission, but I also felt myself being drawn towards this other religion. So my search for truth and my search for where I'm supposed to be began. When I had read the Bhagavad Gita, it was, it just felt extremely transcendent to me, right? I was thinking about this for months on end, every single day, from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. The thought of converting to Hinduism, there was one thing holding me back from it, and that was that I didn't want to admit that Jesus Christ was not the Son of God, because I believed that He was the Son of God. And then at that point was when it became less of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints versus Hinduism sort of thing, and it became more Jesus Christ Himself versus Hinduism. And it got to a point where I had to figure out, who was Jesus Christ, right? Was He actually the Son of God? And if He wasn't, then obviously the church isn't true. And so I had previously read Hindu scripture, and I had my thoughts on that. So then, I decided it was time to really gather my thoughts on Jesus Christ and who he was. And I figured I would start with the New Testament. I hadn't read any of the scriptures all the way through for myself at this point in my life. I got to Matthew chapter 14, verse 31, and it says, "And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" And that just struck me like lightning to my heart. I felt the Spirit telling me, why would you doubt even for a second that Jesus Christ is the Son of God? And that right there, that was just my answer. Read the Book of Mormon and read it with an open heart and with an open mind. And as you read them, ask yourself if you really believe whether or not the things you're reading are false. Just ponder on the words of the prophets in the Book of Mormon and look at them and ask yourself, are these the words of prophets? And if you do it with an open heart and with an open mind, then the answer is just crystal clear. It's yes.